All right, and we are live with today's episode of The Left Wing. As usual, I'm John Cooper from Counterpoint Politics, joined by my wonderful co-host TJ from Power is Taken, Not Given. We also have two wonderful guests today from the Labor Jawn podcast, representing Philly's best. We have Gabe and Sam. So today we are going to be discussing four very interesting topics. We're going to start with a little RFK Jr. talk. I know TJ wanted to talk about him because he's probably not going to be talked about too much more very relatively shortly. So we wanted to make sure we got our thoughts out about him. We got two, not one, but two topics related to the wonderful Elon Musk. And then we are also talking about Ilhan Omar surviving her primaries. And what it means for the progressive movement in general, what we can learn from Ilhan Omar and AOC winning where Cori Bush failed. So let's get into it, TJ. I know you wanted to talk about RFK, so I'm going to let you take the reins here.
Yeah, so RFK Jr., it's exactly what John mentioned before, that I really want to discuss this guy because he's been such a fascinating character over the last 20 years that I've been aware of his existence. But watching him run in this presidential campaign has been interesting because when he first started out, I remember we were talking on the show last year about how this is going to work out. And in my mind, I just had it that RFK is clearly going to take more votes away from Trump because, he's the anti-vax guy. He's the insane conspiracy guy. And he fits like with the Joe Rogan crowd. And I think that was generally the case until we looked later into, this spring and summer. And it seemed that like a lot of disaffected people, like a lot of the I can't vote for either of these two weirdos, a lot of them flocked toward RFK. And seeing how a lot of those have been, supporting him lately, I've just been interested in following this trajectory that he's on. Now, earlier this week, a judge came out with a decision that blocked him from the New York ballot. And he was blocked from the New York ballot. I was trying to read why. And it was because he doesn't, when he filed his petition to get on the ballot, it was through a technicality because he put his address as being in New York when he actually didn't live in New York. So, it may stand and it might not. And if you go to RFK's actual website for his campaign, it shows all the states that they have registered for ballot access. It doesn't show the ones they actually have. The one they actually have, I have right here. It's like 12 or 15 states that he's actually viable to run on. So I'm just curious what you guys think. Now the states that he's in are interesting. That's the part that makes it interesting to me, is that you see he's in Pennsylvania. He's in Michigan. He's in Wisconsin. He's in North Carolina, like states that are going to be contested that might actually have an effect on this. So I was just curious to see what you guys thought is going to be RFK's role in this election, if he's even going to go through with it, given the problems that he's had right now. John, what do you think? What's up with you?
Sure. No, I think that I don't think he makes it all the way, TJ. My biggest, I don't even know if it's a fear, but I think he's going to drop out and endorse Trump. If you were to ask me, gun to my head, what I think is going to happen, he's going to drop out and endorse Trump. What effect that's going to have, I don't really know, because I don't know a single RFK Jr. supporter. I don't know. I have never seen anyone in person who's going to vote for RFK. I've never seen anyone online who's going to vote for RFK. I don't know what this kind of person is. I know we discussed a little bit yesterday about how a lot of the support Harris has gained has seemingly came from RFK, and it did, maybe make us readjust our priors about what an RFK supporter was, but it's really unclear whether he's going to have any impact at all, because as long as Harris continues her momentum, I think those votes are just going to go her way. But I don't know. Sam, what do you think?
I don't think he's sticking around. I don't see that. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be back in Trump, though, because once Kamala got into the race, I think she actually took a lot of his, because I think a lot of people were so put off by Biden and Trump, they're like, I'm going to go with RFK. But now that maybe they think Kamala maybe is more, what's the word?
Palatable.
Palatable. There you go. That she doesn't have as much. Well, it depends on how far you look into it, but she doesn't have as much visual baggage as Biden does that you can easily reference. So I don't know, but it's what an enigma RFK is. That's all I'll say.
Wait, what an enigma he is? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I'm pretty sure an enigma is what's in his brain right now. But
oh shit!
Yeah, Gabe, what have your thoughts been on the RFK campaign thus far?
I just want to say I'm disappointed in the timing of this conversation because we picked the one like normal news week for RFK from the past month.
Yes.
He's not defending eating a dog or placing a dead bear in New York. So,
free game for the conversation. This is a general RFK discussion. Yes,
we can talk about
bear,
all of it.
Killing a bear. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I think I think there is a slim chance of him being a spoiler candidate, but at this point, I think it's mostly from the Trump camp. I think that he is like I agree that his initial support from the Democrat side were disaffected Democrats that didn't want anything to do with Biden. I would probably argue that they weren't necessarily there on a policy stance because he has proven to be pretty nutty on Gaza and everything else, aside from some of his good climate takes and some critique of the two-party system. But I think the people who are still backing him are kind of the more like conspiracy-minded independent types that don't want to vote for either party. And I think both, and especially with how much Trump and Vance have been kind of floundering lately, I think that there's at least a small chance that he's going to pull like maybe half a percentage point or 1 percentage point off of them, which could, like in Pennsylvania, that could make the difference.
Half a percentage point is massive. In this election. Yeah. And God, John and I wish we could do every episode on JD Vance. At least I do. I haven't asked John for this, but I want to do JD Vance every single episode because he's just so fucking weird. But what you guys were mentioning about Sam brought something up that was prescient to this entire conversation. So RFK, I don't know if you guys saw this. This report came out this morning or yesterday that RFK reached out to the Harris campaign about an administration role in exchange for an endorsement. I don't know if you guys saw that. So the plot kind of thickens with this guy because I didn't see that coming. I would have thought the same thing that John said, that he was definitely like a Trump backer, and that because he had that whole thing. There were a couple of videos coming out with his staff saying, yeah, we're in this here to tank Biden, or, another video that came out where he's talking to Donald Trump about strategy and everything. So like having this to be like a Shakespearean thing where he turns his back on Trump would be kind of climactic too. I do kind of enjoy that, but I don't know where this ends up. I really don't. And it is funny you were mentioning how this is the most normal RFK story we could have possibly done. We could have done the brainworm story, could have done the bear story. We could have done literally anything. But, this one is actual play they're going with. But I like what Sam said about how Kamala is just the more palatable answer for people. And I think it surprised even our most optimistic expectations for what could have happened with Kamala Harris is that, Biden, what we always talk about on the show is that I had been saying for over a year now that I thought Biden was going to beat Trump primarily because the election was going to be still a referendum on Trump, just like it was in 2020. But after the debate, it became a referendum on Biden. After that, Biden became the guy people were actually worried about. And so replacing him, it's still a referendum. It's back to being a referendum on Trump. And people have a more a more exciting version of what the United States could possibly be. Because it's not like they're running on policy when it comes to Harris. It's not like she's come out with like a huge platform of stuff that she supports and everything. But I don't know if you guys saw this. This fits with you guys. You guys are in Pennsylvania, right? This is this goes into the Rust Belt area here. So this poll shows that Trump is losing support for one of the demographics that reliably backed him, essential to winning the White House, white voters without a college degree. And if I remember, so in May, Trump was leading President Biden among white voters without a degree in swing states Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania by 25 points. And the latest poll shows that Trump's lead has been nearly cut in half. In August, Trump leads Harris by 14 points in those three states among white voters without a college degree. And that is Trump's bread and butter. But I also figured that was RFK's bread and butter. So there's like a weird overlap here going on. And if RFK does drop out, and if he does end up backing Harris, I just think it makes it more in the tank for Harris after that. What do you think, John?
I think that the reason that he called Harris to vie for a spot in the administration is because if you are the spoiler candidate, you want your number one goal, the only thing that matters to you is backing the winning horse. Before Harris entered the race, it was Trump. Like Trump was the winning horse. And you saw this in the videos that came out about his campaign managers. You saw this when Trump got assassinated. He called the video leaked of him calling RFK Jr. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he's in direct communication with Donald Trump. It seems like he was mostly in it to play spoiler for the Democrats. But if the headwinds change significantly enough that, hey, I don't think Trump's going to win this anymore, well, then he just goes crawling over to Kamala. He's like, hey, I got 4% of the vote. How would you like it? The problem with that is, and why I don't think she's going to accept his endorsement, is that I think that everyone who would have voted for RFK, who was a Democrat, was mostly just not voting for Biden. And that's why we've seen him fall about 2 percentage points since Kamala entered the race. But anyone who was voting for him because they, supported him and his policy would be supportive of Trump, not Kamala. So it doesn't seem like there'd be anything for her to gain from his endorsement other than a bad news cycle for her. I don't know. Sam, I saw you come off of mute there. Did you have thoughts?
No, I was going to exactly just agree with you and say that the thing is with Biden is not Trump and Kamala is not Biden. And that's the way a lot of people are going to vote. And I think, hold on one second.
Your daughter has some opinions on this.
I got my 2-year-old has a lot of opinions about the state of this country, and she will tell me. Gabe,
you know what? I've had that same opinion, just crying loudly.
Speak your piece, little mama. Speak your piece.
Well, first, I did realize I forgot to mention I have seen one RFK, yard sign.
Oh.
There is at least one in existence in Elkins Park, Pennsylvania. So take that for whatever that's worth. But I think the main thing I'm seeing in this entire election at this point is that anyone who's actually voting on policy made up their minds like 6 months ago. And right now it's who can win the vibes game of who can be out there and and just seem the most sane and cognizant. And I think that's also where, especially after the past couple of weeks, RFK is going to have a lot of issues because he needs to learn to just not be around recording devices for like the next 3 months.
Us too.
For RFK, he says one statement about how COVID was biologically manufactured to spare the lives of Chinese people and Jewish people, and everyone thinks he's crazy for saying something like that. But I know, right? The cancel culture is run amok.
But yeah, was he a thing before this election cycle?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Did he exist in the obviously he was alive, but like did he exist in politics before this? Like this is the first time I've ever heard of RFK is this election cycle.
So in the past, so I heard of RFK first about 25 years ago is when I first became aware of him. And that was because he was a huge environmentalist, and he associated with the Democratic Party back in the early 2000s, late 90s. And it's when I noticed how weird his voice was. I was like, man, I've been making fun of his voice for decades now before I learned that, he has an illness or something, but he's still weird. So I'm fine. He's a weirdo. And he was a big environmentalist, and he's always been on this anti-vax kick. He's always been on this. So that's how I was familiar with him, because he was always speaking out about those issues. And I don't know if I told the story on the show about how there was this incident in American Samoa. I can't remember, like 10, 15 years ago. And this hospital had issued out 2 expired vaccines that killed 2 children, and RFK Jr. sent in his goons to like spread misinformation about vaccines to the people of American Samoa, and like it ended up killing like 45 kids because they refused to get vaccinated. So I've been aware of RFK Jr. for a long time, and he has been involved. He hasn't run for anything as far as I know, but he has been a part of the political spectrum for a while, and he's always been fucking crazy. So yeah, nothing new there.
Before we close this out, I just wanted to say one thing. I just realized what the demographic of RFK Jr. supporter is, and it's Democrats who religiously listen to Joe Rogan. That is that is the demographic that he appeals to.
I think you got it.
All right, you officially did it. You made it to the end of an episode of The Left Wing. Your prize is that you get to hear where you can find our wonderful guest this week. So, Gabe, if people want to listen to the Labor Jawn podcast, where can they find it?
We are available on all major podcast platforms. You can also find us at our brand new website, laborjawn.com, which is LABORJAWN. We're also regularly shitposting and memeing on Instagram. And that the memeing is all Sam. I cannot take credit for any of that. And I think that's really where we are for the most part. We theoretically are on other social medias, but nah.
And stay tuned for our search for Labor Jawn. It's still out there.
I can't wait. Hey, thank you guys for joining us. It's been a blast. Sam and Gabe can be found on the Labor Jawn podcast. We also look forward to having them back on May 1st, 2028, after the kickoff of the general strike. Well, we planned that out, 4 years in advance, but it's going to be a good time. Thank you guys for joining. Catch us next time.